This is our 20-year-old GE Profile microwave oven that came built into the home when we bought it. And today I'm going to show you how to replace it with a non-built-in version, and I'll tell you why. Welcome back to Cruiseman Fixes Stuff. Recently, I was faced with a situation where the turntable on our 20-some-year-old GE Profile microwave oven was no longer working. And my first thought was I'll just replace it with a new motor, which meant I had to remove the microwave from the cabinet. Unfortunately, I was unable to find a replacement motor that worked. So what I ended up doing was just replacing the microwave. But I didn't replace it with a built-in microwave. I replaced it with a countertop GE microwave, which did not have a trim kit like the one you see here. So if you're faced with that situation, I'm going to show you how I made this work, how I got a non-built-in microwave to fit into this cabinet. I should also point out that the existing microwave that's been in there for 20 years is not really a built-in microwave. It is a countertop model, but it had a trim kit that allowed it to be installed in a cabinet. So the first thing we have to do is remove the microwave from the cabinet. And to do that, I have to remove this stainless steel trim piece. And there's 2 screws on the bottom and 2 on the top. And then it just basically pops right out. With all 4 screws removed, the trim piece just pops out of place. The bottom mounting bracket for the trim kit is held in place with 3 small Phillips wood screws, so we're going to remove that next. This bottom bracket is actually attached to the underside of the microwave oven. And my original plan was to reuse this bracket with the new microwave oven we purchased, but unfortunately it did not fit. The bottom shape of the new microwave is completely different than the old microwave, so we were unable to reuse this metal lower mounting bracket. The upper bracket for the trim piece is not mounted to the microwave. It's simply mounted to the wood facing of the cabinet with 5 wood screws, so I'm going to remove that now. It makes it a lot easier to get the microwave out without scratching it. Now I'm being careful not to scratch the microwave. I want to make sure I get it out enough so I can unplug it in the back. The reason I'm being careful is because at this point when I'm removing this, I still think I'm going to be able to reuse this microwave by replacing that turntable motor. I was unaware that the turntable motor was unobtainium. You'll probably notice a bunch of dents in the side of the microwave cabinet, so I suspect the builders buy the scratch and dent model microwaves to use in these built-in cabinets because the cabinet doesn't show anyway. I have had this microwave out of the cabinet before to replace the light bulb, and when I did, I put an extension cord in to make it a little easier if I ever needed to remove it again, and the extension cord definitely makes it easier to install and remove. And here you can see how that bottom bracket is actually attached to the bottom of the microwave. It's got some screws in the back. There's also some screws on the bottom of the microwave that hold it into place. And I'm just going to bring it over here and set it on the counter where we can tip it up and start working on it. And here I'm just going to go around the microwave, the bottom of the microwave, and just remove all of the screws that hold this bottom trim piece bracket on. I think there were about 7 or 8 different screws that held it in place, so we'll go ahead and take those out. And of course, taking this bracket off is necessary to get access to the turntable motor, which is behind this little door you see right here in the center of the bottom of the microwave. Okay, this panel here, the motor is underneath here, and this is there was a screw here I removed. It's just a little machine screw. But there's also these little tabs that you have to snip off to get this panel to come off. I'm just using a pair of wire nippers to cut through these little tabs, And once you've cut these out, this panel comes off, and then you can reinstall it by simply turning the panel around the opposite way and using that machine screw to screw it back in place. Not sure why GE does it this way, but our new microwave, I noticed on the bottom, is the same way. So if all you need to do is replace the turntable motor, this is how you do it. It's very, very easy to do. So here you can see the turntable motor, and it's just held in place with one screw, and it just comes right out. And there's a 2-prong connector. As long as you find the correct replacement motor, you just replace it, replace the panel, and you're good to go. Unfortunately for us, no replacement motor was available. That's going to mean replacing the microwave. As I mentioned earlier, this bottom bracket will not fit the bottom of our new microwave, so I was forced to come up with a hack solution. And the top bracket's not a problem. This is what the top part of the trim piece fits into. It's this bottom bracket that was the issue, because the trim piece also screws down into it. So what I decided to do was cut off the front edge of that metal bottom bracket and continue to use it for mounting the trim piece. You can see how the trim piece mounts here, both top and bottom. So my plan was to cut off all but the front 2.5 inches of this metal mounting bracket, and I'll continue to use that to mount the bottom part of the trim piece. The decorative stainless steel panel mounts to these 2 extruded metal posts that stick up from the mounting bracket. Here you can see that bracket after I cut it up. And then my other plan is to come in behind it with a 2x2 piece of plywood, and that's what the microwave's actually going to sit on. Now I'll have to raise it up to the correct height so that it clears the trim piece, but we're going to do that next. The downside of this hack is I had to lift this microwave up into the cabinet a couple of times just so I could get all my measurements correct. This is the new microwave, by the way, which is, by the way, the exact dimensions of the old microwave. I was able to find one that had the exact same dimensions, so that's good. I couldn't have done this otherwise. Here you can see that that trim piece, the microwave is way too low. The door would hit the trim if I tried to open it. So I determined I was going to need about another 5 or 6 millimeters of height on this 2x2 piece of plywood to get it to clear the bottom of the trim piece. So here I'm drilling 5 different holes, one in each corner and one in the center of this piece of plywood. And I'm going to install these little adjustable feet. These are like furniture feet that are threaded, and you can screw them in or unscrew them. Here you can see the base, and I just basically am going to hammer this into the plywood to hold it in place. And you can see these little feet, they just kind of thread, they screw right into that base. And once I've got all the feet installed, I'm trying to unscrew these to the point that they're each at about the same height, about 5 or 6 millimeters, which is the additional distance that I needed. So once I got these all adjusted, I installed the plywood into the cabinet, and then I had to put the microwave back up in there to see if everything was copacetic. And on my first attempt of installing the trim piece around the microwave, I could see that the microwave is at the correct height, but I have the oven shoved back into the cabinet a little too far, so I will need to pull it out a little farther to get it to line up with the front fascia of that trim piece. And once I'm happy with the placement of everything, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the top mounting bracket for the trim piece. That's the final step before installing the trim piece. Now I'll reinstall the 4 screws that hold on the trim piece, 2 on top, 2 on the bottom, and the job is done. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, please subscribe and make sure you click the like button, and feel free to share it with your friends. Thanks for joining me today on Cruiseman Fixes Stuff.